Hello and welcome back to a new episode of Real Spooky Stories, the place where I tell your real spooky stories. If you'd like to share your spooky stories, no matter how non-believable or silly or whatever you may think they are, please tell me. I want to know. Just email me them on j.cryptocoven.co.uk or follow me on any social media platforms below, or you can also submit your story on the Reddit. And yeah, I want to hear them, and I think people want to hear them too, and I'd love to tell them for you. It is the 1st of December, and that means it is officially Christmas month. I thought I would just tell you for Christmas month I'm going to do today's, which is obviously the 1st of December. Next week's I'm going to do the same as today's. I'll explain that in a sec. And then 13 days up till Christmas, I'm going to do 13 nights of Christmas. So every night I'm going to do a new Christmas related spooky story taken from Reddit, and they're all going to be Christmas related. So I'm going to do them starting the 13th of December. There'll be one upload every single day up until Christmas Day. Your last episode will be on Christmas Day. So there will be 13 stories. Instead of 12 Days of Christmas, it is going to be called 13 Nights of Christmas. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm just intrigued reading like Christmassy stories, and there's just so many spooky stories about different events in people's lives. Different occasions. Spookiness doesn't stop just because it's Christmas month, you know? So I hope you enjoy that. I'm looking forward to doing that, and I hope you're looking forward to hearing that. So if you aren't subscribed if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not subscribed, please give a little subscribe. And obviously on Spotify, give a little follow if you want to hear about that. Sorry, that was like the longest intro ever. But anyway, today is the 1st of December. So yeah, it's officially Christmas month. And these stories today are taken from Reddit. And they are going to be all snowy related. Sorry if you're in the UK and it's probably not snowing, because it doesn't snow till about March, when we have that random burst of snow. And it's like thick snow for like a week. And like ice, and then it'll just go to like summer the week after that. But okay, yeah, it's probably not snowing now, but we're gonna get in the Christmas mood. We're gonna get in the Christmas mood. I've got a Christmas coffee right now. I've got Christmas little ambience on the telly. It's Christmassy, you know. I'm feeling Christmassy. So to get in the mood for Christmas, I'm gonna do Reddit stories like snow related today, and I'm also doing that next week as well, before we start the 13 Nights of Christmas. So, also 13 Nights of Christmas starts on the 13th of December. Isn't that just perfect? Anyway, let's do today's stories. And these are all like what people have seen in the snow. Just weird experiences related to the snow. So, I hope you enjoy. Let's get into the stories. So the first story is taken from the subreddit Ghost Stories, and it is titled Footprints in the Snow. This happened when I was younger, around 8 or 9. I grew up on a reservation in eastern Maine. I lived with my mother and brother, who was younger. We lived in a 2-storey multi-dwelling unit or public housing. Vast wooded area was in my backyard. Surrounded by deep woods, it wouldn't take much to get lost, but I always enjoyed adventuring, and I was very familiar with the territory. It was late winter, about 4 to 5 inches of snow on the ground. I heard knocking on the front and back door at the same time around 1 a.m. in the morning. I noticed it first, and then my mother got up and told my brother and I to stay in my room. She called the police and went downstairs to see if someone was at the door. We kept hearing the knocking, but as my mother got closer to the door, it suddenly stopped. No one she could visibly see outside the door, and police finally showed up. Lights lit up the front of our place. Neighbours came out to see what was going on, and we had 5 neighbours in our MDU. I don't know what that means. Sorry, they've just put like MDU in brackets. All of them said they didn't hear or see anyone. Police searched around the property to see if anyone was hiding or ran off, but they didn't find anything. A cruiser stayed in our parking lot for a majority of the night in case anyone comes again. Sunrise came and the officer left early in the morning. My mother and next door neighbour went outside, I assumed, to talk about what happened. Then she noticed footprints in the snow that went along the building, leading to our front and back all the way into the forest. But these footprints were strange, as it was of someone who was wearing pointed boots, men's size, between 10 to 12. The prints were inverted, as if the toes were facing each other, not at an angle. either directly facing each other or in a straight line. The creepiest part about them was the steps of the footprints moved side to side. Toes were inverted and it looked as if they jumped like that side to side in a perfect straight line leading into the woods. My mother didn't say anything about them till later on in life when I was older, but I knew that they were there. It was obvious. I know what you're thinking. Maybe someone was playing a prank or faked it. There were other footprints in the snow around the strange ones, but only around the building. I assumed other footprints were made by the officers due to the fact that they looked normal, but there were no other prints in the snow leading up to the tree line. I followed the prints into the woods, no other markings around them, perfectly inverted side to side hops or steps in the snow leading deeper and deeper into the forest. I got to the point where an uneasy feeling crept over me, like something was telling me to go back. But I knew where the prints were leading. As I said, I was very familiar with that area. It eventually would have led into a marsh or bog area. I got chilled by that thought for some reason and turned back. I never said anything to my mother about it till later on. I never heard or encountered anything like it ever since. If anyone has any thoughts or ideas what it could be, it would gently appreciate it. Oh, that's really weird. Someone said, "You're pretty ballsy to follow the tracks like that, gotta give you props," and the OP has commented back, "I was younger, no one said anything to me about the prints. I hunted wild game since I was young and never seen anything like this before. I wanted to follow it and see where it leads to go or where it went, but I got scared and turned it away." I don't like the fact it went into the bog. Like, that's proper weird. Like, that reminds me of Scooby-Doo. You know, like the monster out the lake thing. And I can't even picture these footprints. Like, it sounds like a weird animal, but like, why was it knocking on your front and back door at the same time? Like, it was on more than one. Maybe one was carrying the other one. That's why there's only one set of footprints. Or, I don't know. Or maybe it only had like one foot and it was jumping, and then there was another thing next to it also jumping, and that's why they were like side to side and it was two things like each other. Okay, I'm going into a bit of a weird thought thinking about this right now. But yeah, I don't like that. I'm not in love with that story. The second story is taken from Ghost Stories subreddit as well, and it's called Crunchy Snow. This happened when I was 14 to 15. When I was about 10 or 11, someone broke into my house while I was sleeping. It was pretty violent exchange from my mum and sister and myself. We survived, but since that night, I've been an exceptionally light sleeper. I hear everything. Fast forward to when I was about 14. It's probably mid-February, and where I live, it snows a lot. And this particular day/night, it had warmed up enough to melt the snow a little bit during the day, only to refreeze again in the night when the temperature dropped. Being a light sleeper, I awoke around 3 a.m. to the sound of someone walking in my backyard on the snow that was really crunchy from it thawing and freezing again. I hopped out of bed and ran to the window to try and see who it was or if they were trying to break in. I couldn't see anything because it was really dark, but the footsteps continued towards my house. My house was 2 stories tall, and I was upstairs when the footsteps walked right under my window. Whatever was walking didn't leave tracks. When I realised that, I felt a chill run down my back. There was no one to be seen, no visible tracks, only the sound of footsteps in the snow. They continued past my house, onto the road and across the street. Whatever it was, it walked on 2 feet and was heavy enough to crush the snow as it walked. I haven't had any experiences since then, but now I sleep with the TV on. Oh, that's really strange. I don't really like that. I just say that every single story, I'm like, I don't like this. Yeah, that was weird. I don't like the sound of hearing footsteps and then no one was there, because just how many times could that happen and then no one was there? And if it's something you can't see, has this happened before when there was no snow and you just couldn't hear it because there was nothing to like crunch under the feet, if you know what I mean? I don't like that. That was a few years old, that one, but still, it's still quite spooky. The third story is taken from the subreddit True Scary Stories, and it is titled Alone at the Campsite. In the summer of 2022, I was desperate and frustrated. I had quit my job a few months prior in the pursuit of start up my own business, and it wasn't exactly thriving. After 6 years of IVF treatment, my wife had blessed me with a daughter earlier that year, and while I was elated to be a father, the stress of being a dad, the financial pressures from the clinic, and the weight of being the sole provider for my family had taken a significant toll in recent months. As summer approached, I decided I needed a weekend away to clear my head and get back into the grind. I decided to take a 2-night trip, just me and our dogs, to a lake off an old logging road about 3 hours from home. It was one of my favourite spots and I knew the woods there quite well. I packed my things, leashed the dogs, 2 blue heelers, and set out early one Tuesday morning. When I got to the trailhead, the parking lot was empty. Middle of the week, I was stoked to be alone. There was a single deer path up a canyon about 1,200 foot over 5 miles to get to the lake, and neither myself nor the dogs met anyone else on the trail the entire way up the mountain. I got to the lake around midday, spent the afternoon fishing and collected wood and water for the coming night. The lake was pristine and quiet, not a soul in sight. I was truly alone aside from the dogs. I found a flat spot on the east side of the lake where the vegetation cleared and I could set up a tent and make a small camp about 30 yards from the trail. I would have preferred to go further up the mountain, but it was still early in the season, and when I got back to my campsite, the rest of the trail was too snowpacked to continue any further. As it was, I had to navigate over several hard-packed embankments before I got to a suitable area. The icy slush was difficult to navigate, even for the dogs, and when we had finally crushed our way over and through a few hundred yards, I made the decision we would not be going further. I set up my tent, hung my pack on a limb, and took my fishing pole back the direction I had come. I spent the evening catching and cooking fish at the edge of the spillway, and as the sun began to set the dogs, I made our way back to the tent. Slipping over wet stumps and clumsily pushing through the snow, I stumbled into camp exhausted and ready for a fire. As I approached the site though, I realised some things were out of place. My pack, which had been hung on a limb, was sitting neatly on the other side of the clearing, about 20 foot from where I had left it. Sitting on top of it was a large eagle feather. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. The dogs began a low growl, but as they circled the site, there was no one there. As I approached my tent, a stick had been used to carve an inscription into the dirt outside the entrance. It was 2 U's and one upside down, connected to the other by a thin line, and then further connected by another line to a larger U shape. I would describe it as Native American petroglyph in the shape of a bird or an eagle. Uniform, symmetrical, and above all things, fresh. Someone had been here. Someone neither I nor 2 very distrusting dogs had seen, heard, or smelled. Someone who had left no footprints through the snow and mud. Someone who had not passed us on the trail, or whose car had been parked at the trailhead. My stomach dropped. I felt a presence of being watched, but I couldn't tell from where. I quickly built a huge campfire and with dread watched as the last of the sunlight sank beyond the ridge. That night was a fever dream. Pulling the dogs into the tent with me, I clung to my knife and flashlight, praying that whatever was watching me would leave. It didn't. Through the night, I was periodically awakened to a variety of sounds. Yells, shrieks, the snapping of branches. The dogs would sit up, growl and bark until I would open the screen of the tent and shine my light into the forest. At one point I had just drifted off to sleep when the dog's low growl woke me up. Thinking I might have the drop on whatever this was, I slowly unzipped the tent and leaned out with my flashlight. Taking a breath, I clicked it on. Standing just 3 feet from me was the doe on her calf. I scanned across her, an entire herd was in the sight. As my dogs lost it, the deer spooked and sprinted back into the forest. A crushing and trampling noise as several dozen deer evacuated the area. As it faded, I heard laughter. The deep laughter of a man turned into crying as it escalated, then sobbing and then to deep growling, much more boisterous than anything my dogs could make, or even a bear would produce. I held the dogs tightly. Sleep eluded me for the rest of the night, and as soon as the sun peeked into the valley, I packed my things and left. I have never been so terrified in my life. Has anyone ever experienced something similar? It's been 2 years and I can't make sense of it. I need answers. So it's actually posted like 100 and something days ago. So it's just really weird. They've actually since deleted this post, but the comments and the post itself are still there. Somebody's commented, did it sound human, the noise that I made? Is hunting a thing around there? That's so creepy. I guess they're like trying to say that it was somebody else that was hunting in the night time. The OP has commented back, the area isn't particularly well suited for hunting because of the terrain. There are ranchers who have run sheep up there. They mostly let the flocks take care of themselves and they are guarded by wolfhounds. There's signs at the trailhead that say do not approach any wild dogs because of this. There is a significant wolf presence in this area as well, but I've never had any issues with them. The sound started human, the laughter and the other shrieking, but then it morphed into sounds a human can't create. And they've said, where is this? And they've said, Northern Idaho Wilderness. Yeah, this is weird. I keep saying this. Someone's put sounds like a Wendigo. This is remember when I done the woods episodes? If you haven't listened to that one, go back. People were commenting on that saying it sounds like a Wendigo. I think it's like a kind of Bigfooty thing. It's like similar to a Bigfoot thing, but it's just really weird. Like, imagine hearing like I don't know, just all of this is weird. The deer, reading this, the deer thing freaks me out the most because they are real, and like all of them deer around your tent in the night. Like, that's weird, and I know that's not the weirdest thing in the story, and I'm going straight to that to say it was weird, but like the noise of that thing laughing and then turning into, but then if all the deer were running in one go in like a scared way, it might have just sounded like a person and then it turned to another sound, but it wasn't like anything, it was just the deer. Now I don't know, I'm just trying to debunk this thing, but yeah, I don't know, I'm not, I wouldn't go. I don't think I'd like camping anyway, but I wouldn't go, especially on my own. I was about to say, as soon as you got there and like realised how much snow there was and stuff, I would have just been like, oh, turn back, like there's just too much to deal with, because he was saying he was like so exhausted before he even like sat down to chill. So yeah, I'm not into that exhaustion, but I guess he needed the time away by himself, so fair play. Okay, let's go on to the fourth story now, and this is taken from the subreddit True Scary Stories, and it is titled Weird Thing When Walking My Dog. Just to clarify, I don't know what this could be, but if anyone does, I'd like to know, since it could just be something normal and I didn't know, but nevertheless, it was creepy. So basically, I was walking my dog, an Alaskan Malamute / Japanese Akita, and since my dog is a snow dog by nature and it was snowing at the time, around 3 inches thick snow, I decided to take him for a walk around the fields that are at the back of my house. Bear in mind, this particular day, it was pretty foggy, so visibility wasn't the greatest. Anyway, we got to the field I usually walk to, and I wanted to let the dog off the lead so it could run around the snow and roll around and just have some fun in the snow. But as soon as I was about to let it off, I saw what looked like a group of people huddled together. Because I didn't want to scare anyone, and my dog is a big dog and loves people, so it charges at anyone for them to pet it, I decided to keep it on the lead. I was curious though. It was around 7 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday morning, so people weren't usually around, especially in groups. I decided to check it out, so I walked closer until my dog just stopped and stared at the group of people. It was baring its teeth and snarling, and also stretched itself forward and released its front paws far in front of it, almost as if it was about to pounce. That's when I took my first good look at this thing, and it was a huge shock. It was a horse. What's weird and creepy about it though is that, for one, there isn't usually horses just hanging around here, especially not completely alone in a 3-inch deep snow, and two, the thing didn't have a normal horse head. Usually horses' heads are straight and pointed, kind of like a snout. This one had a completely round face and was staring at me. By this point, I had stepped over my dog and had it between my legs so it didn't charge. I tugged on the lead slightly to try and get it to come back, and it turned around and we walked away, but the dog kept looking back at the horse thing. I live in central England, so if anyone has any similar experiences or even an explanation, then that would be appreciated. This all happened December 2023, around the 20th. People commenting, what do you mean by round faces? But it was round like a human face. It was flat and round like a pancake. Someone's put, what kinds of human faces do you know? Like a pancake, and that's normal. People are saying like certain face patterns can make horses look weird from a distance. Someone's put what colour, and he said I couldn't really tell because it was foggy, but I would have said white or grey colour. That's weird as well, because I feel like it was just a horse by himself with no people as well. That is weird, and maybe just the fog makes things look like something else, and it's not that deep. Like, I don't know, I just think maybe it just looked like something else, but it wasn't something else, you know? But anyway, yeah, quite strange, and I don't know why it was there. Let's go on to the final story from today, and this one is taken from the subreddit True Scary Stories, and it is entitled My Encounter with a Skinwalker. It was after my Wendigo encounter in 2016, and my dog had died. In 2018, I was 18 and told by MEPS that I'd be going into infantry school in my fort beginning Georgia in 2019. I was told by my parents to walk the family dog. He's an 80-pound pure breed chocolate lab named Coco. I decided to go to the same area I usually went as I haven't seen anything different. My roommate was there when I found the first sign of evidence. We travelled to one of the ponds that was on the course and I found a weird set of tracks. It was large bird tracks that then showed it slowly morphed into a dog or coyote tracks. I asked my roommate about it and he didn't know. I only had a small amount of data about this, but it matched up with a skinwalker. The tracks changing in the snow to a different animal was the first sign, and I didn't want to stick around and found a 150-pound coyote around. We headed back to my house and we didn't speak of it again. The following day, I went out to the same place, but this time I saw something from the distance. It looked human from the start, but as I got closer, I knew what it was. I watched it slowly turn into a wolf. I didn't want to make any sudden movements. The dog was scared and laying helplessly next to me. I waited till it went away, but it didn't. It's like he knew I was there. About 10 minutes passed and he headed to the wood pass that was across the street. I decided to use the opportunity to run home. I never saw him again. I still go to that patch of woods. I went there in 2019 with my fiancé and family dog and saw nothing. It's weird as when I'm there alone I find things, but when I'm accompanied I don't. If I had any evidence, I say never travel in the woods or any place that has a lot of trees and places to hide alone. And if you do travel alone, then bring something to defend yourself with. Stay safe. Someone's put, if I was to recommend something for you not to do, it would be investigating those tracks. The tracks could lead to its hiding place, would be more dangerous for you and your roommate if it came along. I was thinking too about this. Why, when you said you would only experience it when you were on your own, if you were other people, you wouldn't experience it. That might be like a vulnerability thing. Like maybe if it's on your own, the thing is looking at you like, you're on your own, I can do whatever I want here and no one else is here to fight me off or prove my existence, or like, I mean, I don't know if they think that deep, this thing, but I don't know, it makes me feel weird when people say it looks like a human at first and then it didn't look like a human. Like, oh, I don't know. There's just a lot of weird things in the woods. These are quite similar to the woods episode that I did. And yeah, I just go back to saying the woods is a scary place. And poor little chocolate lab, Coco. Aww. Okay, so that was this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give a little like and a little follow, and there'll be more episodes like this, especially a week today, the 8th, I believe, of December. This will be another episode similar to these ones, related to like the snow and the fog and things. But after that, yeah, stay tuned for 13 Nights of Christmas, starting on the 13th of December, all the way up until Christmas Day. But thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to share your story, or if there's any recommendations of topics that you'd like me to cover, please comment below this podcast or YouTube channel, whatever you're watching on. Follow me on any social media platforms, or email me on j.cryptocoven.uk, and I look forward to hearing from you. But I'll see you next week on Sunday at 12 p.m. And thank you for listening. Bye.